is Lisa Bain. Welcome to Treasure Talks. I would love for you to take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit the doorbell so you get notifications about our new videos and content. It has been a joy to meet some incredible heroes over the years through my nonprofit work. Our community is filled with heroes who have such incredible and miraculous stories. These stories need to be heard. These heroes have found treasure in the darkest days of their lives, and they are using it to help others and bring hope to those in our community. Every month, we will spotlight a new story as you meet these community heroes and we chat one-on-one. So stay tuned and be ready to be encouraged and inspired by these community treasures. It's time for Treasure Talks. Hey everybody, welcome to Treasure Talks. I'm so excited, actually I'm beyond excited to have the amazing Nicole Barton with me. And Nicole does so many things. She's actually the founder that started She Is Tulsa, and that was the campaign that I had the honor to be able to shoot for and be in. Oh my gosh, it was transforming. If I had to pick one word, which I love to do for each of my guests, her word would definitely be empower. I mean, you empower, and what you do to help women find their story is just amazing. And I can't wait for her to share, but I want to tell you a little bit about Nicole. I'm going to read it or I won't get it all in there. Nicole's been a photographer shooting professionally for over 13 years. And over the course of her career, she's earned bronze and silver in the Portrait Masters competition, and she placed in international competitions, and she's the creator of Crowned in Silver magazine, and her work has been published in Forbes, Ebony Magazine, among others. Empowering women of all sizes, shapes, shades, and ages through representation of gorgeous images has been her mission over a decade. It's a bond she builds with the women she meets that drives her passion, as well as watching them transform through the experience of seeing themselves in a new way. I can really relate to this. She began the She Is Tulsa Project, which has exploded and helped women find their voice and share their inspirational stories. And I have to say that doing this project really was empowering, and it's amazing what you learn and you find out about yourself when you go through this. Can we start by you, first of all, telling what is the She Is Tulsa Project?
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about how you got here.
Okay.
Take it away, Nicole.
Yes. So She Is Tulsa. I've shot portraits and things for a long time and headshots and things like that, but I always like to have something else going on that's like more purpose driven, that's like a little bit more of a project, I guess you could say. And I came to Tulsa like New Year's 2021, and I mulled over that for a while. I was pregnant when I came here, so I just had a baby. So I kind of thought like, what do I want to do here? And I felt like, or a gap that I saw here was like, just a really cool representation of the women here, something that was like a visual, a platform, a story of like Tulsa and Tulsa women. Because I think if you're not from Oklahoma, people wonder like, what's there? Why are you going there? Yeah. Like what, why Tulsa? Oh God. I mean, I had friends that were like concerned, and so I thought this place could use some PR. You know what I mean? It could use some PR. So I thought, okay, because after I was here long enough and I saw like all the cool things to do here and I was meeting cool women, I was like, we got to like put this out there. Let's do something. So She Is Tulsa started as a two-part short documentary, and photo exhibit. So the women would come and they would be photographed, and we try to photograph them kind of like an editorial in Vanity Fair or Vogue, and include little elements of their lives and props and things to like tell a story in one image of, it's like a snapshot of these women, but it was really high production. So it looked like Vanity Fair or Vogue. So it really gave this like, beautiful image of these women here. And then there was the documentary. So it just talked about like, what is out here, all these different women and how cool they are and their stories. And I think it by framing the women that way, it allowed you guys to also see yourselves that way as worthy of this editorial and this spotlight.
Servers and givers and doers don't feel worthy. I don't take that time to do that. And when I was treated like a queen, I couldn't even make it through the thing without crying. Because you really just realize, wow, this feels good. And you realize that maybe what I do matters. And so many women had walked through cancer. Their stories, I love the diversity and the different stories. And it just, I watched these women get empowered and come together. And even as they shared their stories,
Yeah.
it really was quite a life-changing
Oh,
experience.
good.
And it's so professional and so fun. And then we'll talk at the end too on how maybe people can apply to do this.
Because it's a magazine now. So first
Yes.
it was the movies and the art exhibit, and that was at the Circle Cinema.
Right.
It was hosted there and screened there, and it sold out both times. And now it's a magazine, so we can continue quarterly to
It's
tell
wonderful.
women's stories and building this like community of these alumni women as it gets bigger and bigger. And so it's really cool.
And
It's an
I am
ongoing
so
thing now.
about telling your story,
Yes.
getting your story. You're never too broken, to tell your story. Okay, I want to know about Nicole's life.
Yeah.
You have a story, and it's really a miracle that you're sitting here.
Yes. It is
I
a
mean,
miracle
truly.
that I'm
Can
sitting
you
here.
take us back and share? I remember when you shared at the Circle Cinema. Tell us that story of what brought you here.
Yeah. And and I'll say the reason that I am very comfortable talking about this is because I know me coming from where I come from, it's very hard to see your own possibilities. When you see people who are successful, you feel like they're not me. And that's not for me. It's just outside your whole understanding of yourself. And so I always think it's good for people to, because from the outside, I think people might think a certain thing about me or feel a certain thing about me and my lifestyle and the things I'm doing and the She Is Tulsa. And so I want people to understand that, no matter where you are in life or what you came from, you can always reinvent yourself and leave that behind. The things that you want in life are for you, even if you don't think so yet, and
All the puzzle pieces fit.
yes, all
Even
the
the
puzzle
dark
pieces
places.
fit, even the dark places. And I was raised in a dope house. My parents were meth addicts, and they sold drugs out of my house. They sold meth out of my house. And, back then, this is the late 80s, when weed was still like that was not legal anywhere. And it was a big deal if you got caught with it. They grew that and they sold that also in the house that I grew up in. It was a terrible upbringing. It was terribly abusive, and we were very poor. And the way that things were framed to me growing up is that nice things were for other people. And when I say nice, I'm talking about the bare minimum. I'm talking about like a car that doesn't break down every other time you go somewhere. It's having clothes that don't have holes in them. I remember my mom used to talk about owning a home like it was like, I don't know, having a private jet or something. You know what I
Wow,
mean? Like
yeah.
it was just like, oh, must be nice, or like, oh, they own their house. It was just so my whole reality for myself, or my whole expectation for myself, like that didn't exist for me. Even this barest minimum of like what people would say is like a typical successful, adulthood. And so, I moved out of my house as soon as I turned 18, I left, and on
Was
my
this in
own.
California?
This was in California. I'm
California.
from the San Francisco Bay
San
Area.
Francisco, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, it took a long time. I was just in survival mode, and I had no financial help, and I had, I dropped out of high school, and I just was on my own and paying my own bills and taking care of myself, and repeating really toxic patterns, and just not, I didn't see anything for myself. I mean, I was always working really hard. So I did go back to school, and I went to junior college, and I was always getting a little bit further work-wise and a little bit further financially, but it was kind of more just out of sheer like, survival, and I'm struggling. And so what can I do to not be struggling? But I never saw at that point yet, like, that I could have something beyond just getting by, or just that survival mode. And it took a long time to see that for myself. And a part of that was hearing the stories of other people who had come from what I came from and were like making it work, and asking them like, okay, well, how did you get to that point? Like, how do you get from here to there? And then saying like, oh, okay, like seeing the hope, like, okay, maybe it doesn't always have to be like this,
Right.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that really, you go back in your mind? I know I have a turning point when things just really shifted. What was the turning point when did you find out you had a gift for photography?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a turning point for you? I mean, you are
it
so
was.
gifted.
Yes, and this is what's interesting too, because when you come from poverty, you don't think using art as a career is not on your radar. Like this is for people with privilege, and you're not going to be able to be an artist for a living. That was never a thought in my mind. But my grandparents owned a janitorial company, and we used to love to go help them clean. Like we would go help them clean these businesses on the weekend. It was like one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Actually, I really enjoyed it. And one of the places they used to clean was this couture. The woman, all she made was coats. All she made was outerwear, but she was a couture designer. She was like an atelier for outerwear in the San
Wow.
Francisco Bay Area. And we'd go clean this place. And I just loved to be in there and like touch the things, and everything was so beautiful. But they would throw out their Vogue. They would get Vogue magazine and they'd toss it every month, but they started letting me keep them when they were getting rid of them. And the photographs in that were just like the advertising and the fashion, the couture. And it was weird because it's high fashion, but I really liked it. And so I used to torture my sister. I have a twin. And I asked for a film camera for my third grade, eighth birthday. I asked for a camera. And I used to put her in ridiculous clothes and make her try to do all these avant-garde, and she'd go, oh my God. And she was not a girly girl. She was a total tomboy. And she was like, she would just suffer me. And I have still some of these pictures, these ridiculous pictures. I should find them and post them.
You should.
God, of her like trying to do this like avant-garde. And it's just so bad. But I loved it so much. It was like an escape for me because you could alter reality. You could kind of dress things up and make an image that was an escape from your real life.
You had that eye from
and it was just fun. And so I did it because I loved it. And then MySpace was invented. And so now people would see photographs you took who didn't know you. For the first time ever, strangers could see there was this platform that didn't exist before, and people started messaging me and saying, oh, how much did you charge so-and-so to do that picture of her pregnant? And it was just fun. I was just doing it for fun. And I was like, I don't know, throw me $20. I don't know. And I thought that was so great, an extra $20 back then, because I was kind of broke, But I loved it. And I never stopped taking pictures. And it just got to the point that the more I looked into it, the more Facebook groups I joined with other photographers, and the more like free small business classes I took at junior college, and the more I learned, the more I started to think I might be able to make a go at this. And then finally in 2010, I was making enough as a side hustle doing photography that the woman I was nannying for full time actually pushed me. She threw me out the door. She fired me because she said this
probably
is
the best thing that ever happened.
She told me, she said, this is not the best manifestation of your life, is being a nanny forever. And she's like, I'm going to let you go so that you can do that full time. Shoo. Wow. And I was so mad at her. I was so upset. My baby was like 3 months old, my first baby. And I said, how could she do this to me? But,
did you end up, where did you go after that? When did you end up Tulsa? When did you come to Tulsa?
So that was in 2021. So this was 2010. I was thrown into doing photography full time. In the first month after she let me go, I made more doing photography than I would made doing both jobs before.
Wow.
It just, so, fast forward, I've got 2 kids. I've got another on the way, and we come to Tulsa in 2021. And we were in LA for 3 years before that. We moved to LA for the film industry.
What brought you to Tulsa from LA?
Well, so we were looking in Atlanta because a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but kind of, we personally knew a lot of people who were leaving to Atlanta for their film industry, who were leaving LA to go there because it was cheaper cost of living, but there were still film industry jobs. And so we were looking in Atlanta. We were going to go there. And the father of my children has a brother in McAllister, and he had actually, so my partner had just wrapped a production in Atlanta that he had been working on for like 5 weeks or something. Yeah. And his brother was like, man, you're just a drive away from me. Like, come up here and see me before you go home. And he was like, okay. So he drove up here and he spent a few days, and he found out that Oklahoma has the best film industry, film rebates now in the country. There's all these incentives to shoot here.
Yes.
And he toured Black Wall Street, which he thought was amazing. And then he heard about all these historical black towns. So he went and drove to all of them. He went and drove to all these black towns, and he started learning, like digging up this history here and like how rich the history is. And he was just really excited about it. And so he came home and he told me all about it. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. But I didn't think anything further until one day I woke up in the middle of the night because he wasn't in the bed, and I found him on the computer in the front room looking on Zillow. And I was like, oh, did you find something? Because like I said, we'd been looking in Atlanta, and the house was in Tulsa.
Wow.
He was looking at a house in Tulsa, and I was like, what are you doing? Because I don't know anyone here. I have and even his brother is off in McAllister, and so I had no friends here, no family. I have a lot of friends in Atlanta. I have photographer friends in Atlanta, and so I was very, resistant at first,
That's
but
amazing.
He talked me into it. He said, we'll just try it for 1 year, and look, we're that much closer to Atlanta. We'll just keep going if it doesn't work out. And I was like, fine, he wore me down.
Look how it looked. Look how it worked out.
It did work out. It worked out amazingly.
And
worked out fantastic.
Have met, and you have made such an impact in this town, and highlighted so many things. And I love listening to your story, because I kind of see parallels in that. In my most broken place, that's where I found my purpose. in your most broken place, you found your purpose little by little, and in what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And we always talk about care, community, connection. Did community play a big role? How was community important to you when you went through this?
Yeah.
How did you find your authentic community after you'd been so broken? How did you?
You know, what's interesting is that, like, I think the thing about social media is it could be really, really bad, or it could be really, really good. And if you use it like a tool and you're really intentional and careful about how you use it, it can really help you to find that community that you're looking for. Because I know personally, I did not personally have anyone in my circle who was doing well. Not my family, not my close. And when I say well, I mean healthy, no addiction free, no substance abuse, no toxicity, just, normal.
I mean,
normalcy,
finding
healthy.
your group.
Yes.
You were so used to toxic.
So, the first step was like going back to school and then being really intentional about who at school I sat with and who I spent my time with and what they were talking about, And the thing that's hard when you're coming from a place like where I came from is you may feel like you don't belong in the places that are actually going to be the best for you. And you have to really just ignore that. You have to set it aside, because I don't know that it's ever going to go away. Even still, when I'm at a She Is Tulsa event and there's 300 people there and I'm speaking, I feel like I have no business being in this spot. Like, what are all these people listening to me for? You know what I mean? Like, it's very hard.
Nicole.
And so you have to understand that might not ever go away. So, but for your own good, you need to go sit with the people who are moving in the direction you want to move in, or who are already at the destination you want to be at. And you need to just go sit in that discomfort, because that is going to become your community. And eventually the things that you're doing are going to put you on the same level or in the same circles as these people. You will get there. You know what I mean? But it starts with being very intentional about who you sit with, even if it's outside your comfort zone.
Right. And Mom used to say, live outside of the box. And there's not an event or any speaking engagement that I do that I'm not thinking, why am I here?
Oh God,
what am I doing? Am I just really? And I feel like this little, and I have to just, and I'm like, no, I'm going to put one step forward. And many women that I talk with, they feel the same way.
Yes.
And it's just, putting one step forward and stepping outside of the box. And you do that so well. And no one would ever know that you deal with this.
Yeah. Oh, all the time, every time, all the time. Even now, the second issue is getting ready to drop. So we've got the release party for that on the 18th. And every time, like the week leading up to that, I'm just like a horrible mess, because I'm like,
I'm here to help you, Nicole.
Oh, no. We're in this together. It's that feeling of
I know.
Oh my God. What? Okay. I'm not a magazine baron. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not Anna Winter. What am I thinking? This is just, it's going to be terrible.
She cracks me up. You crack me up. She's so much fun. Okay. I want to know what's on the horizon, because you've got a lot of projects in the work. What's going on?
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to.
Yeah. So She Is Tulsa is a quarterly magazine now. If you go to sheistulsa.com, you can read the past issues there for free. They're there for free for women to flip through. You can sign up for the emails. You can be notified when we have events coming up, so you can come be a part of it.
If someone wants to be in the She Is Tulsa, can they go and submit an application on that website?
On the same website, it says be featured, and you could submit an application. And, full transparency, there is typically a fee involved for that, because it's covering the cost of all of this. However, we do scholarship women in also every single issue. So I don't want women to think, oh, I am not, this is not a possibility for me because I don't have the money, because that's not true. Obviously, our scholarships are more limited than our paid spots, but we do have scholarships. So if you want to do it and you want your story to be told, and you think, this would be something that would be good for you, or you've got something that you offer women that you want to get out to more women, sign up and apply.
And you realize a lot about yourself when you're doing that. And it really was. And I would love to kind of end, if I know there's a lot of people that they don't think their story matters. In fact, I just talked to a woman that said, I had my story shut down. They said I shouldn't tell it. Her story was transformative.
Yeah.
And, again, Mom used to say, you're never too broken for God to use your story. She'd always say, Lisa, your story is a manual for someone else going through theirs. Mm-hmm. Tell the raw details, because it all matters.
Yes. Yeah.
And what would you say to someone? How do you, you found your purpose, and you touched on it a little bit, but what would you say to someone that's just in that place of, where you were in that meth house, where you just felt like, what am I doing? How would you encourage someone?
I would say the first thing is your experience is not singular. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you can feel there's a lot of shame around being in that kind of an upbringing, and you don't think other people are going to understand or they're going to know what you went through.
You're not alone.
You are not alone. There are 100,000 people who are going to be like, yep, they know exactly what you're going through. They're going through what you're going through. So you're not alone in that. And, you know, the other thing too is whatever the thing is that allows you to completely check out in a healthy way, whatever the healthy, non-destructive thing is that allows you to check out from the hard thing you are going through, you need to pursue that doggedly. That is a priority, even if it doesn't make you money. And that can be hard to do when there's scarcity. But even if you just set aside an hour for yourself every week to do whatever that thing is, and it might be a thing that is not part of your culture. It might be a thing that your friends would laugh at, because it might be a lot of times we're raised to where we're not even allowed to have joy or to do something corny. You know what I'm saying? Or not
Wear
cool.
a chicken suit.
Yes, really. You know, you might think, oh my God, if my friends knew I was doing this. But hold on to that little thing for yourself, even if nobody knows about it, because it will save your life. You know, taking pictures for me, writing poetry for me, journaling for me is for certain. Muppet movies. I've watched every Muppet movie. This is like a thing as a grown adult. If I'm having a hard time, I pop that on, I fall asleep to it, you know? And there was a time when I would have died, you know, if people would have, you know, known that. But like, I believe I'm alive because I have those places to go into, however contrary it may seem to what I've been given permission to do for myself. So never stop doing that. Right. And, you know, telling your story, it's the same thing with your story. It's not singular. And I think a lot of times if we don't see another person talking about what they've gone through, we don't get that chance to say for ourselves, okay, this can be done. I can get out of this. There's a path out. You got to see somebody else walking the path to know there's a path. And no story is too mundane for someone else needs it. Someone else is a few steps behind where you're at, no matter what, and they need to hear it.
Right. Well, I just want to end this in a time of prayer real quick. And I know that there's a lot of broken people that feel like, do I have a story? Am I too broken? And, you know, I'm so thankful that God was there in the broken times, because I wouldn't be sitting here if not. But telling my story was one of the most healing things I've ever done. So you inspire me, and you inspire so many. So let's just end in prayer. Lord, thank you so much for Nicole and her story and her inspiration. Thank you for your redemptive power to just bring her through the darkest places and to a place where there's treasure, and she is using her story and her testimony to reach so many. Lord, for the woman that's there that feels like she doesn't matter, I pray that you would just breathe encouragement and life and hope into her. And thank you for Nicole. Bless her work, everything her fingers touch. Bless her camera. Bless her business. And we just pray and thank you that, God, you're faithful, even in the broken places. We ask this in your name, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I love this woman. I just love you, Nicole.
You
just make me laugh. Muppet movies. Muppet movies.
Miss Piggy is my idol. I love her. She's like so glamorous but vulgar a little bit, and she also likes to beat people up.
She's Vogue.
She's like she's Vogue. She's just very contradictory, and I love her.
I'm never gonna let you live that one down. I'm so glad I know that now. Oh, you guys, thank you so much for being with us today. And we would love your support. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, ding the little bell, and you can find us at lisabain.com. And thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you next month. Muppets. Nicole, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Here. We'll see you next month, guys. Thank you for joining us at Treasure Talks. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date with the latest videos. You will not want to miss out. If you'd like more information on the growing projects of Lisa Bain Ministries and how we're helping the community, please visit us at lisabain.com.